Hey, what's going on, fam? I still got a few more minutes. So hang in there with me. Just want to make sure I am sending this to everyone. Modern technology is always so interesting. Okay. All right. Let's make magic happen. Where's that at? It's coming. I'm trying not to be too warm in here. All right. I tell you, family, life is always amazing. It's always something. Technically, I have 3 minutes before we go to air. Let me see something. I'll be right back. Let me see something. All right, 1 moment. Ooh. All right. I'm gonna have to get her water. Mm-hmm. Oh, boy. All right. Hopefully everybody is still good. Just want to make sure. I'm still here. Mother is still here. Okay. Let me get my note up. And I'm going to Bring everybody else into the family. What's going on? What's going on Instagram? What's going on Facebook? And what is going on YouTube? Mother is on the air. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Usually I have a little theme music in the beginning, but we're not going to do that today. I have so much I want to share with you. Let me turn off Professor Anthony Brada on the Rock Woman show. That was phenomenal. I always like watching that. I've seen it several times, but you can never get too much of the truth. So I want to welcome everyone in. Come on in. Come on in. I'll give you all some time to gather. It is my joy and my pleasure to bring forth this information to all of you. We have a lot going on in the world, but it's okay. We're going to make it, right? We're going to make it. All right. So I'm just trying to let some people come on in here and all that good stuff. Na, 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 na. Do, 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 do. Hope everybody is really, really doing well. It is super cold up here in the north. It is so cold, but my heart is warm, so it's okay. It's funny because we experience the seasons, all four of them, up here in these mountains. Summertime is divine because it's not too hot and you don't really need air conditioning at night. But I'm telling you right now, it's freezing. It's freezing right now. So that's the life we live in these days. All right. Okay, I tagged a couple of folks and stuff, and I see y'all coming in. I also want to give a super shout out to the Gadsden Gallery. Laura Gadsden of Gadsden Gallery in Harlem, NYC, will be on exhibit at Aaron Davis Hall from February 6th, I think, until around like the beginning of June. She is a phenomenal quilter. She does quilts. Her quilts are next level, 3D, really 5D. Very, very special. They tell stories. They tell stories about our experience. They tell stories about the Ma'afa. They tell stories about the transatlantic slave trade. They tell stories about our glorious history. So if you get an opportunity and you're in New York City and you get the chance to pop by Aaron Davis Hall, please check out the exhibit by Laura Gadsden. I don't know. I feel like y'all might be too close to me, Facebook. I'm trying to make sure like everything is like going in your direction because what happened last time was so annoying. Sorry, y'all keep moving. I'm gonna get it. Just want to make sure that you're seeing me a little bit better, Okay, Mama got the hat on and everything. You might as well get the whole situation. Okay, so I'm hoping that that's good for you guys on Facebook Live. We're live everywhere right now. Okay, so just trying to be patient and let some more of you get in here before I really start to break this down because Mama's going to drop some science tonight. I really want to. First of all, I want to celebrate the life of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the man who gave his life for the advancement of our people, for civil rights for us, for our success and our thriving. This man really, really put in work. He put in work that a lot of us aren't really doing today. You know what I'm saying? I don't know the last time we've been hosed, but I do know that the work and the contributions of Dr. Martin Luther King are innumerous. My favorite era of his is towards, unfortunately, the end of his life, but I felt that his speeches were beyond poignant at that point because he was frustrated. He was tired. He had been through so much. He had been jailed many times. He had dogs and fire hoses sicked on him and all kind of stuff. It was a lot. Okay, it was a lot. But his speeches towards the end, like get an opportunity, take some time to listen to the speeches of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King towards the end of his life. Um, very, very powerful. And the wildest part is, of course, we're still singing these songs today. Hmm. Um, I want to make a correction from last week. Um, Last week's episode was 149. This is episode 150, 150 of the Black Alice in Wonderland radio show. I am your host, Queen AaMinah, and honey, so much to talk about as usual. But I want to make a correction because last week I was talking about a woman by the name of Sarah Bartman who had been on display in the human zoos and human circuses. And I had said that it was the early 1900s, but it's actually the early 1800s. So 2 centuries ago, Sarah Bartman, she had died after years of spending her life in a European freak show. Of course, there are now rumors over a possible Hollywood film about Bartman's life. But Sarah Bartman died on the 29th of December, 1815. But her exhibition continued. This is the freaky part. Her brain, her skeleton, and her sexual organs remained on display in Paris in the museum until 1974. 1974. A lot of y'all listening on here, we were already born. Maybe we were 9, 10 years old in 1974. And from the early 1800s, her body parts were still on display. I really want y'all to feel where I'm coming from. Because we do know after many of the lynchings in the South, they would cut off body parts of the person that had been hung. They had even, they castrated a lot of the Black men that were lynched and hung. And they would take that castrated penis and put it on display in their house. They would take knuckles, they would take fingers, ears, a nose, a foot, a toe. If they got half a leg, it was like, ooh, I got half a leg. So we have to realize that not only were we tortured, not only did we suffer injustice and incivility and the most horrible, cruel acts that anyone could ever inflict upon another living being, human, animal, whatever. They would take our body parts for souvenirs after they killed us. And so this woman, Sarah Bartman, spent a large part of her life on display. On display. Do you want to know why? Because Sister Sarah Bartman had a very large gluteus maximus. She had a very large behind. And we know sisters to this day that are blessed with a beautiful behind. We know this. We know many of them today. However, in the early 1800s, of course, to the melanin recessive individuals, having a large buttocks was a phenomenon. It was something that they had really never seen before. Now you have white women getting plastic surgery, getting a big booty, getting big hips, getting big lips, getting big tatas. We know. But back then, plastic surgery did not exist. So they would just look at a Black woman's body and completely objectify her. Whether it was her voluptuous breasts or her big belly or her little tiny pouch of a belly or her hips or her buttocks. It was complete and utter objectification. So Sarah Bartman was brought to Europe under false pretenses. A British doctor tricked her into moving to Europe and gave her the stage name, wait for it, Hottentot, Hottentot, Venus. Hottentot Venus. That was the name of her display name. As she would stand damn near naked for all of the world to see. One moment. I got you, baby. I know I'll take you to. One moment, family. Thank you. As she would stand. Had to get my hubby together. All right. We're good. Thank you. So, when I mentioned last week about Black people being on display in zoos and, circus exhibits and things, some of you might have thought I was tripping, but I really wanted to be accurate. And because I had given it the wrong date, I had to go back and correct myself. I will do that. I don't have a problem doing that. I spoke a little too quickly. I was like, 1900s. No, it was the 1800s. And her body parts were on display well after she died until 1974. Think about it. We're talking about from 1815 to 1974. Heavy. So again, she was paraded around in different freak shows as well in London and in Paris with crowds that were invited to look at her very large buttocks. Now, some of these stories I bring up because I really need for us to totally understand who we are dealing with. People want to talk about Civil War. People want to get all excited and what have you. I'm not even going to that right now. I'm not going to the whole Civil War thing because we are way above having to be engaged in a Civil War yet again in this country. Especially if we are dealing with crazy and deranged melanin recessive individuals who lack the knowledge of history and who are afraid of genetic annihilation. I ain't got nothing to do with that. The majority of us have absolutely nothing to do with that. So Civil War, Civil Schmore, I am not about to get all excited about going to war in this country. Shit, Black people, we've been living in war. We've been living in war since they got here. So what's new? We still get castrated. We're still getting lynched. Black women disappearing, getting accosted, being raped. What's new? We've been at war. So as I had stated at the beginning of the show, today is January 20th. Today is also the inauguration day of you-know-who. However, this household right here has refused all day long to play in any of the felons' follies. We're not playing any games. I didn't want to see any of it. I didn't want to smell it. I didn't want to even look at a picture. I didn't want anything to do with the so-called inauguration of this felon. None whatsoever. I have no time. He gonna do what he's gonna do. Now, yes, it's funny when we laugh at all these different things that have been coming out. We're laughing at these appointees and individuals that he wants to run, the Attorney General's office, the CIA and FBI, and all these other individuals that are not only unqualified. That's the first problem, is that they're unqualified. But they are also, many of them, white supremacists. So they will do the bidding of the felon. If you watch any of these hearings and they're asked very simple yes or no questions, and for whatever reason, they cannot seem to answer yes or no, they can't do it. They go into all this elaboration about whoever and blah, 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 and they want to go back in time, or they want to not talk about a hypothetical. As the Attorney General of the United States, your whole life is a hypothetical. We're dealing with people, right? If you're the Attorney General of the United States, then you want to go after who? The criminals, right? You are going to juxtapose. You are going to give a hypothetical. You're going to try to figure out how it is that you can prosecute these individuals who've broken the law. When I was studying law, everything we did was on a hypothetical. What if? So then you got little Miss Muffet on her tuffet, Pam Bondi, sitting up in Senate confirmation hearing, not answering direct questions. She was the Attorney General of Florida. So she is a lawyer. She has practiced law. She was the Attorney General in Florida. By the way, that was when the whole Trump University scam was going on, and she sided with Trump and all kind of stuff. Boo boo brought her behind in Pennsylvania talking about, oh, what I saw in Pennsylvania. Boo boo, what did you see? You never even said what you really saw. You just went on and on with what? Hypotheticals to me. So when we watch the shit show, part of my vernacular, but that's what it is. We are watching a real-time shit show. When I watched Pete Hegseth, whatever, another one can't be faithful to save his life. How is it that you wanted to appoint this individual to be in charge of our entire defense? That's Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, National Guard, and anything in between. When the person can't be faithful. You cheated on wife number one with wife number two. Then you cheated on wife number two when wife number three got pregnant. But when she got pregnant and had just had a child for you while you were married to wife number two, you cheated on her. Hello. With a whole bunch of different individuals. I'm just saying. Does loyalty pop out at all? And it's not popping out for me. Loyalty is not what's coming to mind when I'm thinking about all these different things that this individual has done. And I am not even yet touching upon the alcoholism. What type of person tells you? Has anybody ever said, I really want to know, because I've worked with drug treatment facilities and dealing with people who have had substance abuse issues. When you hear a person say, if blah, blah, blah happens, then I'm going to stop drinking. If blah, blah, blah happens, then I'm going to stop using. Has that ever worked? Have you seen it work? I haven't seen it work. He said, when I get the job, I'll quit drinking. Any one of us right here in these platforms at the moment. Hey, KK, how are you? Oh, what's up, Adrian? How y'all doing? Okay. Any one of us in this little moment right here watching on any one of these platforms. Has it ever worked when somebody told you, oh yeah, I'm going to quit doing crack when I get the job. I'm going to quit drinking when I get the job. Alcoholism is a very difficult thing to beat. Okay, it's serious. You don't just wake up one day and say, I'm not drinking anymore. If you're a real alcoholic, you're going to go through some withdrawal. You're going to be sweating. You might throw up a little bit. A lot of things going to happen because it's called detox. So have you ever heard anyone tell you, I'm going to quit when I get the job? This whole cabinet pick, everybody, even Kash Patel and his little maniac self, all these people. And don't you think it's a little embarrassing and slightly hilarious that neither Byron Donalds or the other big dude who wanted to be the black Nazi in North Carolina, neither one of them have gotten an appointment, no position, not even paper picker-upper, nothing. They were all up in Trump's behind like a suppository. That should be speaking volumes to me. And please do not let any type of diversion like Herschel Walker becoming the ambassador to the Bahamas give you a kumbaya feeling. Please don't fall for that. Lord knows what he's going to do. Herschel Walker can barely understand English, let alone a person with a Caribbean accent. I want to see this play out. This should be very interesting. But when we are looking, just vision, just looking at these people that he has picked to be in his cabinet and have picked to run this government, no one is qualified. Nobody's qualified. That's a little intense. Nobody's qualified. Nobody's qualified. My son could do a better job than Pete Hegseth. Why? My son gave his life to the Navy. My son has awards. My son is a military police officer trained in combat as a sharpshooter. He's a bad, bad boy. He has more experience in leadership and authority than Pete Hegseth. I'm just saying. I just think this whole thing is interesting. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because I'm going to come back to some other stuff. But what we decided to do in this household, I had gotten this really cute text that said, "Wow, look what someone sent me." And I said, "Well, I like this idea because it's called the Day of Absence, and it was for today." And it said, "Help make history. Boycott Inauguration Day. And make sure that you turn your TV off at 12 o'clock on January 20th. Make this inauguration the least watched live event in the history of television." What an incredible message to the new administration. And for someone who loves to talk about crowd size, this is not going to make him very happy. So it will put him on notice that we, the people, also have power. What a wonderful way to make Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. proud with an old school approach to change. So tell your friends and tell your friends to tell their friends and don't presume that people are not going to watch. Okay, so let's make sure that everyone doesn't. Great, right? Absolutely. And so, again, no parts of it today. We'll see what else happens down the pike, but for now, I don't have the time. Now, I do want to bring to your attention, if you aren't aware, because I know a lot of us are working so hard. Some of us are working 2 and 3 jobs, and we can't slow down. We barely slow down enough to catch a wink of sleep, and maybe eat a meal. But President Joseph R. Biden has just granted clemency for over 2,500 individuals who were imprisoned wrongfully or prosecuted for a self-defense case. Now, this is the most amount of people who have ever been granted clemency in the history of this country. And so I think it's very, very beautiful. We have a lot of melanin dominant people who have been on death row or have been given life sentences when they have not committed a crime. We are well aware that the judicial system of this country seeks to continue to incarcerate as many of us as possible. If this were not true, then the prisons would not be filled with at least 85 to 90% of the people in there are melanin dominant, men and women. You have women in prison for accidentally killing someone who was trying to either rape or kill them. That is what is called self-defense. White folks get away with that all the time. But when it comes to Black people, specifically Black women, they get imprisoned with long sentences. Even back in the day when I was doing social work and I had a client who was a female who was at Bedford Correction Facility, which is in Bedford, New York. And I used to have to go up there and take her children to visit with her twice a week for months on end, really over a year. In any event, this sister was imprisoned. Her sentence was about 25 years when she did nothing. Do you want to know what she was charged with? Neglect. Why? Because she went for a job interview and left her boyfriend / husband at home with the children. And he couldn't take the baby crying. And so he shook the baby to death. He got life and she got 25 years and she was not even present when it happened. Where is the justice in that? So, by President Biden giving clemency to 2,500 people in our prison industrial complex system, That is beyond noteworthy. We should all be very thankful for that. Because, there's only 6 degrees of separation, and we probably know somebody who knows somebody who might know somebody who just got out. So thank you, President Biden, for that. You have done so much for FOR, this country, and for specific Black folks in this country. You don't get the credit. People want to make fun of him. You tell me what Donald Trump has ever done for you. Even Obama couldn't do but so much. You know what Obama did that was real slick? He passed the Indigenous Rights Act. Because covertly and quietly, he knew that a large, humongous population of Black people in this country are Native American. Cherokee, Blackfoot, Blackfeet, Yamasee, Algonquin, go all the way. Creek, there's so many, it's ridiculous. Seminole, Apache, Paw, Shawnee. So that was his way of trying to give y'all a heads up to get your paperwork together so you could claim your indigenous status, and therefore you could be a sovereign and indigenous individual in this country, because only you are indigenous to this country. White folk are not indigenous to this country. They cannot be indigenous to this country. White folk are European, British, right? Throw some Russians in there if you want to. But when we're talking about white people, we are not talking about American native indigenous people. The only indigenous people in this country are majority Black folk. I know I keep talking about it because I'm going to drill it. I'm going to drill it so hard. I need for some of y'all to really, really have a moment like, ding, ooh, my great-great-grandmother said that we were blah, blah, blah. It's just time. I keep going over this, even in Instagram and different things. I keep going over it and letting people know the BS is over. We're past that. This is the true beginning of the age of Aquarius, not the dawn. The dawn was in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s. Right about now, we are in the beginning of the age of Aquarius. Look it up. The age of Aquarius is not about tomfoolery, deception, bullshit, none of it. The age of Aquarius is about truth, love, understanding, overstanding. So that's what this is about. We've got to learn who we are. Yes, everybody on the planet is African. Everybody come from woman, African little woman. Everybody know that. Hopefully you do. Tell a racist, hey, we got the same great-great-great-grandmama, and I'm your great-great-grandmama. Let them know. Don't be scared. Show up. But seriously, we have to understand what's going on. So again, thank you, President Biden, for launching this clemency initiative to give freedom, to 2,500 people, many of whom were melanin dominant, aka Black. Thank you. Nobody else has done that. Obama couldn't do that. No offense to Obama. I'm just saying his hands were tied for the entire time that he was president. So he gave you the slickness with the Indigenous Rights Act. Go and do your work. Go and do your work. But I'm grateful. I'm very, very grateful to President Biden. He has done many, many things that no other presidents have ever done. And he gets a real bad rap for it. But those of us who know, we know. So check this out. I had seen a post. I told you, mother's been busy. And people will hit me up sometimes. If I can make the shortest statement ever on Instagram, and somebody will come and ask me a specific question, or, heaven forbid, try to refute me. Either way, I'm moving in love and I'm moving in knowledge, right? So I saw a post That was from a movie scene where you had two white men speaking about the dark complexions of Italian and Sicilian people. And so he then, in the movie, makes a correlation to the Moors of North Africa, coming into Italy, etc. Y'all know me. I had to post this. I said, Italians and Sicilians have had darker complexions from way before the Moors. Ancient Greece had many black Greeks, and the first Caesar of Rome was a black man. The Phoenicians, the Minoans, and Corsicans were all black. One day the world will learn the truth about black civilizers of Europe. Y'all gonna learn today. I was like, this post is from a movie clip, but it is still not completely accurate. Understand that the Moors entered into the Iberian Peninsula around 700 AD. Meanwhile, Black people have inhabited and civilized every Mediterranean island, including Greece, Italy, Turkey, and Europe. This happened way before the Moors. Okay? The Moors came into Europe to civilize the Europeans. These Europeans had been suffering through the Dark Ages and from before then. The European was ravaged by disease and filth. They didn't bathe except for once a year, and that was called the annual bath. They didn't brush their teeth. They smelled like death, and they had to learn about hygiene and how to corral their animals because they would let their animals stay in the house or hut with them. So this is how chickenpox and different plagues came to be. Plus, you wasn't washing. Okay. Whew. The Moors occupied Europe for over 700 years. They were eventually ejected by the Spaniards around 1493, 94, maybe even up to 97, because we're talking about a large group of people who were occupying a very vast area. And so when the turn on them came, because the Moors and the Jews, let's not forget the Jews, were chased out of Granada, which is a main city in Spain. They were chased out. This is also coinciding with the beginning of a slave trade. We're not transatlantic yet. We are just snatching people from Africa and bringing them into Europe. It is not until the voyage of Cristobal Colon, also called Christopher Columbus, who was not Italian at all, don't know where people get this from, but was not Italian. And he was Jewish. And I think part of the ploy was to get him to sail over here, right? But I thought they didn't give a damn if he was going to live or die anyway. He was Jewish. He was Sephardim. So they didn't care if he lived or died on this journey to the New World. They didn't really care. They were cleaning house. They were actually somewhat surprised when he went up into what is El Salvador and Hispaniola, which is the Dominican Republic and Haiti today, and stole some folks from there and then brought them back to Spain. They were surprised when he came back because they didn't think he was going to make it. Do you want to know why he made it? He made it because he had Black cartographers from Africa on the ship with him. There would have been no way for him to know where he was going or how to get here if it wasn't for them. And of course, they had no idea that he was coming over here to capture other Black people. They had no idea. Just saying. So, excuse me. You need to understand that even the original royalty of Europe are Black nobility. We must truly understand the human race begins in Africa. Alkebulan is the name of the actual continent. But of course, upon invasion, it starts to be named other things. It's called Africa. Africa actually means to divide, which is what they did. And they divided it up into the many countries that you see today. Meanwhile, you still have predominantly melanin dominant people in Africa and running Africa. So a lot of people don't know history. And that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this show. Because again, if we don't know history, then we are doomed to repeat it. And there are many parts that we don't really wish to repeat. Wasn't a good time for us. So even when you're dealing with all the castles of Europe, they were built by the Moors. Some were built even before the Moors ever came. You have huge tapestries in museums and churches throughout Europe that depict Black royalty in the turrets of the castles. And you've got the gate is up, and you got more soldiers down on the ground with shields and helmets. And the invading posse is a bunch of white men, butt naked, under a black cloak. Naked as the day they were born, under a black cloak with a little string right here, and that's it. And they are banging at the gate, and they are fighting the soldiers, the centuries. They're fighting them to try to get into the castle. But the Black people looking out of the castle are Black royalty. And you have this all through Europe, especially in Poland too, Germany parts and stuff. So I'm not making anything up. And it would behoove us to make sure we keep valid passports. I know I'm talking smack right now because mine expired, but I'm on my 5th passport. The next one I get will be my 6th. I've had a passport for every decade of my life because I've traveled all my life. And I really want to encourage all of you to get out of this country and go and see the world. And not only that, see yourself, your beautiful melanin dominant self. See yourself in the world. The first time I went to Greece, I was around, I think about 12, 13, somewhere around there. And my mother, my beautiful, beautiful, dark chocolate, gorgeous, beautiful African queen, would always be stopped in public. Many people would ask her what queen she was from, what country she's the queen of. They would give us little trinkets and gifts and stuff. They would bow to my mother. So then as I got older and I went to Greece and Italy and many different countries, on tour and stuff, but I'm by myself. I'm not with my family. And then I have people bowing to me, asking me, what country am I the queen of? Which I must say is a very wonderful feeling. Now, I wasn't going to say I'm the queen of America. No. But I was grateful for being acknowledged as a queen or some type of royalty from Africa. I was like, okay, I'll take it. Thank you. I'm not, but thank you. So they know who we are. We don't know who we are. And that's a problem. So get your passport. Get out of here. Go see the world. It's beautiful. And the world, especially outside of America, has a lot of reverence and honor and respect for Black people, Black men and women. Now, yes, there are some places that you can go to where they don't really like us or they're afraid of us or whatever. But I'm talking about, we go to Japan, like mainstream Japan. Like if you go to, Tokyo, if you go to even Osaka, the there's all these beautiful places where you can go and they'll just be in love with the fact that you're there. Black women in Italy get love and respect. Yes, they do try to pick us up all the time too. So have your wits about you, but no one's going to accost you or bother you. And you're safe. I like safe. Safe is good. So in any event, even when we watch a movie, the movie can be wrong. And I know some people try to get a lot of information and get historicity, get historical information from movies, but a movie is written by another person. It doesn't necessarily make it a factual event. So when I was watching this clip, and I believe I probably saw the movie. It's an old movie from like the 80s or so. I don't want to date myself. But when I heard this white man tell another white man that the reason why Sicilians and Italians can have a dark complexion is because of the Moors. And I was like, wrong. Wrong. Get your map out. Look at where Greece and Italy sit. Look at the Mediterranean Sea, and then look at North Africa right there. It's not a hard journey. So when I tell you the first Caesar of Rome is a black man, it's not that far-fetched. Geographically, these places are not that far apart from each other. And since Africans left Africa and went out into the whole planet, everywhere, that is how we all have the same mitochondrial DNA from that one little black woman. That's how. But time is important. Time. T-I-M-E. Time frame, reference point is very, very important. So, I had to go in. So then I said, give me a second, let me find where I was. I said, in addition, Hannibal. White folks love to claim themselves some Hannibal. Boo-boo, Hannibal was dark chocolate. Hannibal is a brother, okay? Hannibal Barca. Why is his last name Barca? Because his father was royalty in Barcelona, Spain. Barca, Barcelona. Hi. Hannibal was fierce. That's why they always keep trying to put him in a movie and they make him Brad Pitt and all these other people. No, Hannibal is Idris Elba, okay? Hannibal would have been our other brother from Black Panther and stuff. Chadwick Boseman. That complexion. That's Hannibal. And Hannibal and his father planned the attacks against the invaders who were coming down from the north. And so they said, we're going to head them off at the path. How? We're going to use African elephants and ride African elephants over the Swiss Alps. This happened. It really happened. Again, more of the genius of Black people. But I'm just saying, think about that. It's hard to ride a ski mobile over the Alps. They rode African elephants over the Swiss Alps to whoop tail in the Punic Wars. I think they won the first one and lost the second. But could you imagine such a formidable force? Could you imagine being the crazy ass enemy and seeing these elephants with Black people come over the hill? Could you imagine that? Got to be astounding. Okay, continuing. The Scorpion King. Remember the movie The Scorpion King with The Rock? And take our true heroes and turn them into monsters. Why is that? The Scorpion King was a real human being, a real person with valor, dignity, honor, respect. The Scorpion King was not some demon. And it's like they do with all the Mummy movies. Mummy 1, 2, and 3. Wrong, wrong, and wrong again. Do remember. Think about it. Think about it. The characters that they use, and they turn them into evil, wicked people when they never were. And how they're allowed to just take our history, twist it around, and turn it into something that's nasty and evil when it had absolutely nothing to do with what was really going on. But what do? We just watching the mummy movies with popcorn. We just, right? Because if we don't know the truth, then we're going to think that what we're seeing is real. How many Christians today will tell you that anything coming out of Kemet is evil and demonic? You want to talk about ignorance? Ignorance. I'll run up into a church with Asar, Aset, and Heru, the original Holy Trinity with the Virgin Immaculate Conception that everybody else around the world stole, including the Romans in 69 AD when they wanted to create the story of a Jesus Christ. Excuse me. Okay, so again, the Scorpion King was not BS at all. The Scorpion King was a real black man who people honored and revered. Okay, and for that, just because we're here, every single Kemetic entity, they're not deities, they're not gods. See, this is what white people do when they put their spin on something because they don't understand it. And goodness knows if you don't understand it, you'll never understand or overstand it, ever. They're energies. They're divine energies of the cosmos that we live in, within, and are a part of. And every one of them was represented by a black person. So whether you're talking about Asar, Aset, Heru, Herheru, Ma'at, Tahuti, Neghebit, Bes, Sebek, Seker, Sekert, Sekmet, Herukuti, Sa, Sa'a, Smatawi, Kebra, Ampu. Every one of them is a black person. Just in form, but it represents the cosmic energies of the cosmos, what we deal with, the sun, the moon, the rain, being fearful, being courageous, having wisdom, writing something down, memorizing something, femininity, divine reciprocity. All of these things are what is embedded in each and every one of these entities, every one of these aspects, if you will. They're not gods. There is one supreme force of creation of which we are all a part of. All the Kemites and the Africans did was break down what those things are. Very similar to the 99 attributes of Allah in Islam. Very, very similar. Because again, Islam is another copycat that comes out of all of the historicity of Kemet. Every major religion right now is flexing on what came out of Kemet. Every one of them. Y'all know that even if there was such person as a Jesus, they weren't Christian. There's no such thing as Christianity until that person is what? Dead. There's no such thing. What is the Catholic Church? The Catholic Church is the holy cat. Who's the holy cat? Bes. Bes is represented as a black cat in Kemet. Did you know that the entire city of Paris in France, Paris, Gay Paris, Paris was called Per Isis. After Per Isis, that's when it becomes Paris. The influences of ancient Kemet are all over the world. That's why we got pyramids all over the world. Those influences are very heavy here in North America. And where else? Mexico, where there are what? more pyramids. And we built them everywhere we went. They're everywhere. There's pyramids in Antarctica. There's pyramids under the sea in Japan. There's pyramids in China. They're everywhere. Like little calling cards. We just dropped the calling card everywhere we went. So I'm just trying to say again, even when we're talking about Kemet, Kem means black. Why would we name an entire region Kemet, meaning black land, black people, the black community, if we weren't black? Do you know why the word chemistry exists? Chemistry exists because chemistry's original origin is the study of melanin. Chemistry. Think. Think hard. And I'm going on and on and on because I want us to truly know that the time has come for all the lies and all the garbage to be dissolved. It's time for the truth to come out about who and what we are. It is time for each and every one of us to do our work, to study, to buy books. It is time. We must learn our story. Our story predates his story by millions of years. He can have his story, but we need to know our story. We must totally understand all of these legacies, all of the ancient dynasties of Kemet. There were over 25 dynasties. It's a lot of time. And Kemet wouldn't be Kemet without the Africans coming from the Central Nile Valley, where you got Uganda, you've got the mountains of the moon, the White Nile and the Blue Nile that come together to make the Great Nile. And these Africans from a southern part of Africa sail what they call up south, even though it's not south, because the Nile River flows from south to north. So stay with me. They're here. This is Uganda. This is Lake Tana, which they call Lake Victoria. They know Victoria in Africa. Okay, you got Lake Tana. You've got the mountains of the moon, where Jehudi sat and wrote about everything about life, every animal, every aspect. And they sail this way. This is the top of North Africa right here. This is the top of Kemet. This is Kemet, Algeria, Libya, Morocco, like that. They sailed this way. They went like that. Meaning that what? Meaning that the high culture, the language, the writing, everything came from down here, not up here. It didn't come from here. It came from here. It came from the heart of Africa. Okay? So again, learning our true story and who and what we are is very essential, especially at this time, for our survival and our advancement. It is very, very, very important. And my last quote I said was Ankujat Seneb, which means life, strength, and health in ancient Kemetic language. What time is it? All right. Okay. Whew. Now, moving on. This has nothing to do with history, or maybe it does, but realize this. Most of you right now have a regular driver's license, or you've got a non-driver's ID, and that's how you've been moving and doing stuff, right? Then you need either one of those to get your passport if you're going to have a passport. However, in May of this year, 5/25, the real ID will be initiated, and you will not be able to travel domestically on an airline. You can't fly to Florida no more to go see grandma. If you do not have a real ID, it's called the real ID. That's what it's called. So from between now and then, especially if you plan to travel, please go to your local DMV, switch out your regular driver's license or your non-driver's ID for a real ID. That's what they're calling it. They're calling it the real ID. Now, I don't know if there's going to be a chip in it. I don't know if it's going to follow you everywhere you go. I don't know all of that right now. I really don't know. But I know that what I'd like to do is get the real ID, and then I want a world passport. I don't want a regular United States passport. I want the world passport. They're different. So, pardon me. I just wanted to share that with you because they're not really talking about it too much. I actually had to Google it. They're not talking about it a lot, especially today. This whole week is going to be drowning in the whole Trump inauguration garbage. Blah, 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 blah. So you're probably not going to hear anybody talk about the real ID is coming and that you're going to need one to fly domestically. For those of you who don't understand the word domestic, it means flying any point to any other point in the United States of America. Okay, internationally is when you go into France and Japan and any other place outside of the country. So I think that that's interesting. I was wondering why. What's the difference between my regular ID and a real ID? So again, I know there's going to be something on it that's going to be a little bit different. It might have a microchip in it. It very well may. So we'll see what happens, but know that you're going to need one. If you want to take the kids to Disney World, you're going to need one. All right. So Mother's got a little moment in between. Okay, we're in between the show. I'm like right at my the top of my next hour. But I want to give you all a numerology drop because, you know, I love numbers, always have. I've studied numerology. It's very, very important to know your life numbers and your past lessons and different things like that. And they all have numbers that are attached to them. That's why you have a birthday. Your birthday is what? A number, which is what? A year and a date and a time, right? Okay. So we've got to understand the power of different numbers. And one number that sometimes gets an interesting rap is the number 9. Now, we already know that the number 13 has like the worst rap, but the number 13 is associated with sacred feminism, sacred femininity, higher learning, higher wisdom. And plus 1 and 3 is 4. And 4 is supreme balance. That's you on your square. 4 is foundation. So, number 9. Do you know that number 9 means to be reborn? Number 9 is rebirth, birth, born, starting over. That's number 9. And it is female as well in different characteristics and concepts. And it's categorized in a multiple of ways. Now, understand this. 9 will always be 9. What do you mean, AaMinah? 9. I'm saying this to say this. Check it out. What is 9 times 2? 9 times 2 is 18. But 1 plus 8 equals 9. 9 times 3. 9 times 3 is 27. But 2 and 7, add them together and they equal 9. 9 times 4 is 36. And if you add 3 and 6, you get 9. I love this. I was so excited. I went down the whole table. I said, really? You got 9 times 5 is what? 45. 4 and 5 is 9. 9 times 6 is 54. Again, 5 and 4 is 9. 9 times 7 is 63. 6 and 3 is 9. 9 times 8 is 72. And 7 plus 2 is 9. 9 plus 9 is 81. And 8 plus 1 is 9. And we can go on and on. 9 times 10 is 90. And 9 plus 0 is 9. Isn't that amazing? I love numerology. It's very, very enlightening and empowering. It's very interesting. Now, let me see how we're doing. I think we're good on Facebook. We good on Facebook? Let me know, y'all. I'm about to give me a second. Stay with me. Stay with me. All right. Okay, stop. I shared it already. All right. So what I want to do and what I'm trying to do, I know I got to come back on Instagram. Give me 2 seconds. I know y'all got my elbow all up in the thing. Why is it so stubborn? Sorry, y'all. Give me a minute. One second. I'm done. All right. Okay, I think that worked. Now let's try this again and poof. All right. See, I don't have a real television studio. It's just me and my 2 hands. My husband is my engineer, and he lets me know if I can't be heard. But thank y'all so much for being with me again. We're going into hour number 2 on the Black Alice in Wonderland radio show. I am your host, Queen AaMinah. Happy to be here with you. I hope you're getting this knowledge. So I just dropped a whole lot of information on the number 9. Because again, most people are just, very unfortunately, people can be oblivious to certain things. And some of the things that I'm attempting to drive home are about our advancement and our enlightenment, and for us to be able to ascend, as in go higher. Like, remember back in the day, you used to see all the pictures that Leonardo da Vinci would do, and he would always have somebody with their finger up in the picture. Somebody had the finger all the time. So, as above, so below. Now I'm going to get into a couple of other things, and hopefully I do not seek to offend anyone. And even when I am talking about the differences between melanin dominance and melanin recessive, that's all I'm saying is about people who have a whole lot of melanin and people who do not. I am in no way attempting to express prejudice or disliking someone or any of the above. Because if you look in my face and you see these eyeballs, I am the world. So I can't be prejudiced against nothing. But I can love myself a whole lot. All right. So, again, how anyone is misled about this monster with very bad genes, whose name is Donald Trump, is beyond me. I'm going to talk about it for a minute. Okay? He likes to call immigrants and other people who are not white, even not white and not male, he likes to call them low IQ people with bad genes. He always wants to talk about somebody with bad genes. Have you seen this one lately? Do we want to talk about an example of bad genes in our faces? Now the bad genes are going to be standing behind the podium with the seal of the president on them. Just saying. Some of the children don't even look right. Whose genes are bad? In any event, I remember when he had said that Barack Obama did not like Kamala Harris because she was a low IQ individual. We're talking about someone who has never done anything professional except lie. We're talking about someone who's never done anything professional except file for bankruptcy 6 times. Meanwhile, you want to talk smack about the Howard graduate, the law school graduate, the individual who became Attorney General of the state of California, then became a senator, for the state of California, then became the vice president of the United States of America. But you want to call her a low IQ individual. Those are the things that really get my goat. When someone who lacks intelligence, pedigree, letters, he lacks all of that. He doesn't even really move like someone who has a lot of intelligence. We can tell just the way he speaks, his mannerisms, what he likes, what he eats are clear indications of his lack of intelligence. But yet he wants to play the same game that they like to play and just point a finger at the black woman who's far more intelligent than he would ever be. He could die and come back and he ain't never going to be that smart. So I find that interesting. Meanwhile, you and I know very well that Barack Obama was all over the campaign trail. He was in states she wasn't even in. He was giving rallies when she was in another state. How is that disliking someone? Why would you go on the campaign trail, travel from state to state, auditoriums and all these different arenas just to advocate for this individual who you don't like? That doesn't make any sense. But again, we're talking about the intellect or lack of Donald Trump. It's not there. Like the elevator is going to the top, but nobody's in it. And what I'm seeing is that not only is he not the sharpest knife in the drawer, he ain't even in the drawer. So I just think that it is outrageous how anyone could actually trust what Donald John Trump has to say. I think his middle name is very appropriate. His middle name is John. Don't you think that's appropriate? Okay. As much as he likes hoes, okay. As much as he likes hoes and prostitutes, his middle name is John. That's just irony at its best. Anyway, but again, he's a liar. He's a cheater. This man added $8 trillion to our deficit in only 4 years. What will happen this go around? I really can't say. All I can do is try to advise you all to save a little bit of money, buy some non-perishable foods, find an alternative heat source, keep lots of candles in the house, make sure that grill is working, and don't open the refrigerator unless you have to. That's what I'm going to say. Because who knows what we're going to experience in these next 4 years. So we need to be ready and prepared. Get a lot of water. Buy a lot of soup. Just in case. I think it's funny how he stated that he wants Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook and Meta and Instagram. He wanted him in jail for life. Meanwhile, Mark Zuckerberg just lifted the fact-checking and being able to make sure data was correct on any 3 of these platforms and threads. He just let the whole thing go. So you want to talk about a little pressure? That's what I think happened. I think we had a little pressure and that we caved in. We caved to the pressure. That's what I think happened. Because when you think about it, for Mark Zuckerberg, even in his court hearings and different things, and he would say, well, no, I'm not going to change anything. Everything's going to stay the same, blah, blah, blah. And then, as soon as Donald Trump wins the election, Mark Zuckerberg comes out in a press conference to say, I am lifting all fact checking sources on my sites. That's interesting. That is very interesting. Now, Trump is still threatening Google because of the chats that J.D. Vance had denouncing him. Remember, just a few years ago, 2019, 2021, J.D. Vance was throwing Trump under the bus. But because of, I think, Don Jr., one of the sons, Don or Eric, recommended J.D. Vance for vice president. Trump wants to get rid of CBS News, after the Kamala Harris interview. He actually sued ABC News after his poor debate performance, and he won. I don't understand how that happened. Of course, he said he wants to get rid of NBC News and MSNBC News. How paranoid can one be? Especially when he touts free speech on the other side. How do you have free speech when you want to get rid of several major news outlets? Because you say they're spreading fake news, Come on. And I kept saying it from before the election, even post-election, that we cannot afford to have someone like him back in our Oval Office, but here he is. Here's Donnie. We got to deal with that. Like, how could he even say that the Hurricane Helene responses from FEMA would be tied to FEMA giving money to migrants? FEMA doesn't even distribute money like that to individuals that are citizens of the country. I don't understand what he's trying to say. He just wants to insinuate everything has to do with the southern border and people coming across the border. He wants to continue to tie whatever is occurring to that. Remember how they could say you could put a lipstick on a pig? You can put lipstick on a pig and that ain't going to make it cute. It's not going to make it. It's still going to be lipstick on a pig. Okay. I don't know. And now we got these wildfires that have been burning. I know that they're under control now. Thank God. I'm really grateful because I have friends and dear friends that live out there. But what I want to ask all of you right now is, have you gotten the opportunity to watch the movie? It's a documentary called Vigilante Inc. Excuse me. Vigilante Inc. I'm going to say it one more time. Vigilante Inc. INC, period. It's on YouTube. It is compelling. It's going to piss you off. It's going to make you angry, but it will enlighten you, and that is always the point. My husband saw it first, and then he brought it to my attention. I had seen the icon for it, but it looked weird, and I just kind of passed it by. But excuse me, but he watched it, and then we watched it together, and all of the little Tetris pieces started to fall into place. The movie came out before the 2024 election. I know that a lot of people watched it, like hundreds of thousands of people watched it, but it still probably wasn't enough to change what that documentary was about. Meaning, the premise for the documentary stated the 2024 election is in danger. 8,500 self-proclaimed vigilante vote fraud hunters have already challenged the rights of 851,000 voters of color. Yes, I said 851,000. Almost a million. Their goal was 2 million by November 5th. And investigative reporter Greg Palast of The Guardian and Rolling Stone hunts down the MAGA vigilantes, including one dressed like Doc Holliday with his loaded 6 guns, who blocked the vote of 4,000 black soldiers, including Jamaliel Turner. Pallas and Turner confront the vote rustlers in scenes humorous, weird, and dangerous. This has happened. This happened. We're talking about almost a million people, and they might have met their goal of 2 million by the time the November 2024 election was underway. But I need you to think for a minute, because if 850,000 Black people were denied the right to vote that we know of. Hey, Shayna. Hi, Mama. If we know that 850,000 people who are Black lost their right to vote, think about that for a minute. Kamala Harris could have won. We're talking about a million people. Because Donald Trump did not win by no millions. Know that. But they launched this plan towards the end of his last presidency. So from like 2019 on, they went real hard to remove Black voters from the rosters. And they did it. That's the wildest part. I'm not talking about a scheme that was found and they were halted and it's like, no, we're talking about something that was successful. When you watch this documentary, you're going to see grown people crying. Grown men crying because they were denied the right to vote. When I talked about the 4,000 Black soldiers in the military right now, stationed all over the country and all over the world, denied the right to vote. And then they sent them a raggedy ass letter, like maybe a week or 5 days before election day, telling them to show up in person to contest this particular move. You tell me how. Maybe you're a corporal in the Navy, stationed in the Philippines. How you gonna get your tail to Virginia to prove you're that person and that you have the right to vote when you're stationed in another country under orders? How does that work? One other very foul thing that they did, and this is what really, really got my craw, okay? People who had the same name. Stay with me. People who had the same name. Say your name is Martin Johnson. Say your name is Martin Paul Johnson, MPJ. And there's another Martin Johnson. One or both of you is going to get removed from the voting rosters because they think that you are creating a fraud by having more than one name. So let me just break this down. I'll use New York. You got 5 boroughs and counties in New York. Kings County is Brooklyn. Queens County is Queens. Richmond County is the Bronx. Manhattan County is Manhattan, right? Okay. If you've got a Mark Harris in Queens, registered to vote in Queens at 179-22 180th Street in Queens. Then you have the same person with the same name in Kings County with a different address. Naturally, they're going to cancel that out. They even concocted a ploy where they removed the middle names of the people. So now you just got Martin Robert. And you got Martin Robert, Martin Robert, Martin Robert. There can be 3, 4 of them in each county. But when they come up, you see like 8 Martin Roberts because you took away the middle name. You took away the middle initial. So then you can juxtapose and say, Martin Robert is trying to commit voting fraud. He's trying to vote in more than one county. What's really fierce is this shit worked. It worked. Almost 1 million Black people were unable to vote in this last election across the board. Not just president, congressman, senator, city council, everybody, everywhere. We vote for everything. Sheriff, judges. Almost 1 million Black people in 2024 were not able to vote based on what I just told you. If that is not something to not only get under your skin and really tick you off, it should definitely make you feel a little frustrated. Because the Republican Party wants to tout that Donald J. Trump overwhelmingly won against Kamala Harris in his last election, and that cannot be farther from the truth. I think he won by 70,000, something like that. Not a lot. When 851,000 plus 851,000 plus Black people denied. So this is why you might see me sometimes on an Instagram post. I don't really do too much on Facebook because Facebook is so about what, somebody's birthday, who died, who got married, whose anniversary it is, and what somebody had for dinner. I ain't got time for that. But on Instagram, it's way more cerebral and, it gets intense sometimes. But when I talk about freedom, what it means for us to be free as Black people, what it means for us to be free, not only in this country, but in the world, but in this country. And if we look really closely, we can see clearly that we're not. Having the right to vote is one of the most important rights that one can have in one's own country. Having the right to vote. It is your voice. You and others like you, people who might be like-minded, if you all vote in a specific direction for a certain person, 9 times out of 10, that person will win. But because this white supremacist establishment is so afraid of Black people rising up and doing anything, they went out of their way in the past 4 years to completely disenfranchise almost 1 million people. Now, I know some people don't really care about elections. Some people don't care about politics. Some people can be very ignorant about politics and say, oh, it doesn't make a difference, blah, blah, blah. It really does make a difference. And the most important elections in your life are where you live. City council, the mayor, your governors, your congress people, your senators, those are very, very important elections. Yes, the presidential election is important, but your local election is the one that you really have power in. Now, what if those 851,000 to 1 million people had been able to vote in this last election? I personally highly doubt, and I'm using my spidey senses as well, but I really doubt that the Cheeto-faced pork nugget would have won. I doubt he would have won. I mentioned it a second ago. He only won by about 78,000 votes. I'm talking about 850,000. Almost a million. So, I'm enraged over that. I'm not just a little pissed. I'm outraged and enraged about that. I would like for everybody from the Reverend Al Sharpton, Attorney Ben Crump, every other civil rights attorney, Jasmine Crockett, anybody who's got civil rights attorney background, assemble these people. Find out who they are all across this country and file the biggest suit that America has ever seen. File that suit. They would probably win. If 851,000 people are on one case of voter fraud, one case, they probably win. I want that case to get popping. I want that to happen right now. I want to hear about it. I want to see it. You had the People's March yesterday. Huge, mad turnout for everything under the sun, from reproductive rights to gay marriage to everything under the sun. But where is the march for the 851,000 brothers and sisters who have been denied the right to vote in the last 4 years on some garbage? I'm not talking about that they committed any felons, that these people went to jail. No. 4,000 soldiers? 4,000 black soldiers? So this is where the foul and the funk comes in. This is where that stench gets a little more funky, because we could all be standing around. Everybody want to have a little kumbaya. Whatever. Until this situation gets fixed, I want to hear about it. I'm not kumbayaing. I'm not holding hands and hugging and crying. I'm not lighting a candle. None of that. I want a lawsuit. I want to see it. We are in the age of tomfoolery. We are in Jim Crow 2.0. A cracker ain't gonna let up. And if you're white and you're listening and you're not a cracker, don't get offended. If you are a cracker, you can get off my page. But I am reiterating that the white supremacist cracker-ass cracker will not let up off of any one of our necks, let alone trying to give a pass to the 851,000 people that just disenfranchised. We have to fight for that. We have to fight for that. And I mean fight on paper. At the beginning of this episode, you heard Mother talk about she is not about a civil war. I'm not. I'm prepared for one, but I'm not trying to invite one. But I feel like it's time to go to war on paper. Get them where it hurts. Stop buying all their products. After Donald Trump won the 2024 election, I have not set a toenail into Walmart. I'm not going to Walmart no more. I'm not buying nothing from Walmart. I could be my little lonely self, but I know a few other folk that ain't going to Walmart no more. Walmart can have Walmart. They're so busy snatching children and sex trafficking people in trucks and stuff. I ain't got time for Walmart. But I want us to I don't want us to let our foot off the neck of white supremacy when it comes to this. I can't even imagine how any one of these people feel. Sorry, I'm shaking y'all up, Facebook. Forgive me, I'm sorry. I don't know. Let me get y'all right. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to make too much light of this. Like, I really, really am upset. And you should be too, because you don't know if your name gonna come up on a list. Because you got the same name as somebody else. Can you imagine? You got the same name as somebody else and they black too, so we just gonna remove both of you from the roster. Neither one of y'all can vote. When our foremothers and our forefathers died for us to be able to vote. So I don't take that lightly. I vote on a regular basis. And I definitely like to have say in my local government and in my sheriffs and my judges and my district attorneys and things like that. Yes, I do. But this is an outrage. And the wildest part for me, because this is a federal crime. This is a federal crime to deny someone the right to vote based on garbage. They're not felons. My biggest question is, why is no one talking about that? Why is no one talking about that? I don't understand that. Like, even Roland Martin. Roland be loud about everything. Roland be loud. Roland has even claimed to be petty. Well, let's get petty on this right here. Joy Reid. And I sent this to Joy. I sent it to her. Rachel Maddow. Ari Melber. Don Lemon. Don Lemon got his own show. Don Lemon is no longer beholden to CNN or anyone else. Why is he not talking about this? This is real. And maybe the people that I just mentioned, maybe they're being told not to say anything. I honestly don't know. Because Joy Reid, I sent it to you, boo. I sent it to you. Yes, I did, sis. I sent it to you. I sent it to Rachel, too. Want to know, do you know about this? Can you talk about it? Can you bring it up? Nothing. So again, this is real. This is something that is current. This is something that has to be adjudicated on. And again, a nationwide case must be filed immediately, and it must be tried in federal court. We can't allow this to slide. We really can't allow this to slide. Sorry, pardon me. See, check this out. I was talking to my husband about this earlier. I just did the video and it ended on Instagram, and I'm like, okay, whatever, right? So I was trying to stop it so I could start it over again and continue the program. But it's telling me that I'm talking about hateful speech and whatever. Kiss my ass. No, I'm not. And if a white supremacist could get on and show the hanging of a 19-year-old girl, I could say what I want to say. I thought you lifted restrictions, Mark. Do you see the hypocrisy? Anybody see anybody over here? Okay. All right. Last one. Maybe not last. I'll see. But it was funny to me. Maybe you all can relate. I don't know. Let me sit up a little bit. I don't need you up my nose, but I'll just. Huh? Yeah. So I just turned it off. Can you imagine?
You turned it off?
It's off. Instagram is off.
Oh, wow.
I'm still on YouTube and I'm still on Facebook.
Yes, I see you on YouTube.
Okay.
What you got to do is on YouTube, bring the camera.
The husband's here.
Because you're only getting your chin.
I know. I can't help it.
You can't help that?
It's so weird.
You need something to put behind the unit?
But I need it to stay. Okay, that's not so bad. All right. You know what I mean? That's bad. Right. Thank you, husband.
All right. Instagram. All right.
Thank you, producer. Yeah, Instagram is tripping. I'm like, whatever, I ain't beat. They might put me in Instagram jail, whatever. So this next one could be kind of satirical for some of y'all because I was cracking up. So officially, the national bird has been the bald eagle for like centuries. Am I wrong? When we were in grade school, did you all not learn about the bald eagle being the national bird of the United States of America? Anybody, anywhere? You could even comment on either one of these. Somebody tell me something. Because President Biden came out a few weeks ago talking about the national bird has been named. And I was like, but didn't this already happen? I mean, talk about a Twilight Zone moment. They're like, the national bird has just been named. I was like, what? We already know the national bird. What are we doing? So I'm not tripping and I'm not even smoking. We learned about that damn bird in 4th grade. I'm not hallucinating or anything. I didn't go through a time warp. Nothing. The national bird has been the damn bald eagle since I was a child. Anybody out there? Am I not right? Help me. Somebody. I don't mind if you comment. Mama Eswick. Somebody. KK. Somebody tell me something. Didn't y'all always think that the damn bird was the eagle? Like, I'm old, but I remember. Now, I remember specifically because during the time of Benjamin Franklin, yeah, I'm going back, they were discussing having a national bird. And Benjamin Franklin and his little chunky self suggested the wild turkey, probably because it tasted good and Ben liked to eat. But they were like, no, we can't have no damn turkey because the turkey is not ferocious enough. It doesn't display any symbology or symbolism of strength. I was like, so we needed to have a carnivorous bird, which is the bald eagle, to be the national bird. Plus, I think that the bald eagle, looking like an old white man with no hair, was highly emblematic of what we were representing in terms of the leadership of this country. But I digress. This was in 1782. In 1782, it was determined that the national bird of the United States of America would be the bald eagle. Now, the other part that makes this very strange and uncomfortable for me is because the bird is everywhere. What up, Queen? How are you, sweetie? The bird is everywhere. It's in American institutions. It's in the courthouses. It's in the House of Representatives. It's on the U.S. passport. It's on the money. The bird has been on the money for a long time. Why would you have a bird on the money if the bird was not the national bird? Somebody help me out. They just pulled this out like a couple of weeks ago. The national bird. President Biden has named the national bird as the bald eagle. Excuse me and pardon. This has been the bird since 1782. Did they think we didn't know? Did they think they were slow or stupid? Did they think we don't look at the money or we don't pay attention to the front of our passport and we don't look at the shield of the United States of America? Oh boy. And I'm saying this because the place where the bird is the most is on our money. The bird is everywhere on the money. Bills, coins, the bird. Now, I'm sure you've seen it. You can't miss it. This one bird's ass is all over everything. And I know you've seen it. It's got its head turned to the left. Okay. The big shield of the United States with the stripes and then the stars on top, all on its chest. The bird is clutching 13 arrows in its talon on the right side and 13 olive branches in the left talon. The shield got 13 stars on it. It's holding a ribbon in its beak. And on the ribbon is written E pluribus unum. And there are 13 stars above its head and on the right side of it. It even has what looks like 13 eggs or 13 pearls arched over its head. So again, how can the bird be all over the money and all over our official institutions and not be the national bird? How can Joseph Robinette Biden proclaim the bald eagle as the national bird just last month? That's fierce. That is one of those like real Twilight Zone-y type of I went into a vortex and came out 40 years later. Maybe went through the Bermuda Triangle. I don't know. But the bird been the bird since 1782. And just last month, Joe Biden talking about the national bird is the bald eagle. I'm not going to cuss. I'm not going to cuss. I'm not going to cuss. But excuse me. Make it make sense. How is it that in 2024, far away from 1782, that the damn bird is being acknowledged as the national bird? Check this out. You will not be able to pee on me and tell me it's raining. Okay. Something ain't right. Something is not right. And I'm personally stumped. And again, I don't like when things don't make sense. I don't do very well with that. And I am highly allergic to bullshit. I'm allergic. I'm going to break out in hives and everything. It ain't going to be nice. So that was just something that was funny. And I thought I could bring it to your attention. And maybe you would get a chuckle too. Because who puts a bird all over your money and in your courthouse and everything, and it ain't the bird? Who does that? So lately, where are we at? Okay. Lately, I have found it to be just a little hilarious that Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy seem to be getting their just due, by MAGA. MAGA is very upset with them. Now, it's funny because Vivek got real quiet. Vivek had put that text out. Remember when he put the text out about, tech industry demands and that, Americans are too stupid and retarded to fulfill the tech industry demands. So we need to import Indians and Asians to come to America and work in the tech industry. I was like, oh, this is going to get a little bit of static. So I know a lot of white folk felt slighted. They felt slighted and they responded vehemently. Yes, they did. Rightly so, but whatever. People show you who they are, and when they do, we have to believe them. Now, I remember Vivek Ramaswamy specifically for his fast-talking, overly salivated lips in debates and interviews when he was running for president. And I was like, who is this? Now, I know he's East Indian background, just like Nikki Haley, which was funny when they were going back and forth because it was Indian on Indian. But in any event, he was too much of a slick talker to me. He just kept going on and on and on and on. And what I really remember him from more recently was his interview on the Don Lemon show when Don Lemon was still on CNN. This is the reason why Don Lemon was fired from CNN, because Vivek Ramaswamy decided to try to rewrite American history and not necessarily know the facts about slavery and chattel slavery and what happened to African Americans and the indigenous Americans of this nation at the hand of the brutal slaveholders. So when Don Lemon went in to correct him to make sure he was not spouting the stupidity he was attempting to spout, I guess the higher ups at CNN got their panties in a bunch and decided to cut Don Lemon loose. Excuse me, but I remember that about Vivek because I was like, who is the fast talking Indian? Somebody help me. Okay, you're not in that many industries. You're really only in tech and pseudo tech. You're not, You're not curing cancer. You're not doing brain surgery. I'm just saying. So by order of importance, he wasn't important. But I just found it really heavy when Don Lemon got fired from CNN because of what Vivek Ramaswamy was lying about and not being truthful. And Don took it upon himself to correct him. Way to go, Don. So, of course, since then, Don Lemon was fired, but he's got his own show, The Lemon Show, on YouTube. And it's dope. It's really, really good. But like I said, he ain't talking about what I'm talking about. But anyway, um, when we look at these two individuals, I think it's very interesting. Okay. Now, of course, many of us who are African American slash Indigenous American, Caribbean American, whatever, we saw these two coming from the get go, didn't we? All right, we saw the slick Indian with the receding hairline and the glossy lips. And then we saw the South African, Asian looking, very uncomfortable in his body individual, Elon Musk. We saw them both. We saw them for who and what they were. I know we did. So we know that both of them are racist. Sorry, I'm going to call a spade every day. Why is Vivek Ramaswamy racist? He's racist because, number one, did he not only not know the facts around early American history and chattel slavery and the kidnapping of Africans and the enslavement of Native Americans, but he wanted to stand on stupid and want people to believe his point, which was not true. Now, first of all, I find it hilarious that you have anyone with a different background attempting to argue you down about slavery. And you Black. So that was the first thing that I did that was just a little wrong for me. But the infighting begins because they both insinuated that Americans were too stupid and they were retarded, so they weren't able to have the skill set to enter into and to fulfill the tech industry demands. I thought this was hilarious. Now, Elon, and I spoke about this before, Elon comes from apartheid South Africa. Not just South Africa, apartheid South Africa, which we know was brutal and horrible. And so his family, especially his father, who's off the chain, was able to make millions of dollars during that time. Of course you can, it's free labor, just like slavery. And Elon wouldn't really be Elon if he didn't like the tech industry so much, and he didn't have millions and millions of dollars. Like, again, when you are born with this platinum diamond plated spoon in your mouth, you can do whatever you want to do. So that's what he's doing. But it doesn't negate his past. It doesn't negate what he comes from or who he comes from. So to me, both of them are kind of jacked up. Because again, if we're talking about the country of India, where you still have the caste system in existence, where the darker skinned people are at the bottom of the caste and the lighter skinned people are at the top. Now it's become more so whoever's got a lot of money can be at the top, but you still got a lot of darker Indians at the bottom. Reference Slumdog Millionaire when you get a moment, okay? Because in India, you have one group called the Untouchables, and they are very, 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 very dark-skinned. They are known as the Indus Kushites, who came to India from Kush, which is Africa. Stay with me. Ethiopia and Sudan. And they went over into India. And that region then becomes Indus Kush. The word India does not come around until after Indus Kush. So the Kushites came in to settle and civilize India. Then you get the Aryan invasion, which changes everything, introduces the different religions and the caste system to the Indians. So Vivek Ramaswamy is a product of a caste system that is cruel, unfair, and horrible, specifically against black-skinned Indians. So no, he is not invited to the barbecue. Neither is Elon. Neither one of them can come to the barbecue. So just realize what we're dealing with. And I think it's funny that the infighting has happened. Now you got Steve Bannon, Steve Bannon, who looks like he doesn't really bathe and he wears like 3 and 4 shirts at a time and he has lots of skin tags. Anyway, he's coming out talking about he wants to get Elon kicked out. Vivek is going silent. Vivek has been quiet as a mouse. Vivek is mute right now. Pay attention. Just pay attention. Now, what also got me was knowing that who are you calling stupid? What do you mean we don't have enough Americans to fulfill the tech industry demands? Why do we have a Silicon Valley? Why do we have MIT? Even my little university, Lincoln University, had the laser program for the engineering students who had GPAs and cumulative averages of above a 4.0. It was called the laser program. And some of them went to work at NASA and all these other industries, Silicon Valley, etc. Some of them even went to other countries. I had a friend that went to China for a while to work with the Chinese in tech because he was a laser student. So how are we saying that there's nobody in America to fulfill these high-tech positions? So the other part for me, I knew he wasn't really talking about us. And if he was a bold-faced liar because I know that if we go back in history, if we look at the Hidden Figures, right? Remember the Hidden Figures movie about the black women of NASA, right? And that was a story that was buried, right? Now we got the 666-8, great movie about the black women who were in the United States Army Corps, who actually faced life and death to make sure soldiers were getting their mail from home and that their homes would get letters from them. They created a whole system. Ingenious and intelligent. So I was like, well, I know you're not talking about us because I know who we are. We got Dr. Gladys West Brown, known for her contributions to mathematical modeling, the shape of the global positioning of Earth. Sister created GPS, okay? She and different satellites and all kind of stuff, all right? She was inducted into the United States Air Force Hall of Fame in 2018. She was awarded the Webby Lifetime Achievement Award for her development of the satellite G-Odyssey models. She was like, okay, well, but let's just do the whole planet. Sister wasn't afraid of nothing. You had Marie Van Brittan Brown, who was an African-American woman who contributed her livelihood to the invention of the home security system. Born in 1922 in Queens, New York City, she greatly saw the importance of protection in her area while being a nurse. I'm going to go on to more of them next week. But, we had Brother Garrett Morgan, not just for the traffic light. Okay. He did his whole safety hood breathing device like a gas mask. Okay. During World War I, it was the prototype for the gas mask to help soldiers when they would, be faced with all these different gases and Agent Orange and all this stuff. Black man. You have Elijah McCoy. Okay, not just the portable ironing board, but many, many other patents, like the lawn sprinkler even, black man. So I'm going to go into more of our inventors next week. I want to thank you all so much for being here with me tonight. I wish you all a wonderful week ahead. Happy birthday to all the soul Aquarians, all the Aquarians. Happy birthday. Happy birthday, Moyo. Happy birthday, Laura. Happy birthday, Roz. Happy birthday, Caroline. Happy birthday to all the Aquarians out there. Y'all shine. Everybody, take care of yourself. Make sure you eat right. Drink a lot of water. Get your rest. Eat good food. That's my stomach you hear. Holla. But be good. Be good on the inside and on the outside. Smile at strangers. Take care of the babies. Protect the elderly. And let's have each other's back, okay? Because I got your back. So I pray you have mine. All right. Have a great rest of your week ahead. I love each and every one of you. I'm sending you love and positive energy for this week ahead. Have a great weekend when it happens. And I will see you next week. You have been listening to the Black Alice in Wonderland radio show. I am your hostess, Queen AaMinah. Have a wonderful week ahead and stay amazing. Thank you guys. Thank you for being with me. Check out my husband, DJ Pitch Control, on SoundCloud. Just put out a new mix specifically for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Check it out on soundcloud.com. It's PYTCHCONTROLL on SoundCloud, like clouds in the sky.com. All right. Good music is always healing. Get your life. Feel good. Be good. All right. Love you guys. Thank you. Peace and love.